Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Amanda with Molly Cole Creations. We have a few fun projects going on this weekend. We are starting out with some little pots. Majority of them, or all of them, that I end up using, I don't end up using this one, came from the Dollar Tree, just clay pots, different sizes. These are just the plastic pots, and they came in a pack, and they're quite flimsy. I only did one of those because I didn't realize how flimsy they are. We're going to be using some napkins. We're going to use some decoupage paper. These really pretty napkins. They, I think, came from Amazon. If I can find them in my orders, I will link them. They're very beautiful. These decoupage papers I got a long time ago, also from Amazon. I've used it on miscellaneous projects. They're butterfly themed. This one I was thinking about maybe using some of the writing. And then I'm going to do one to kind of go along with the bee in this stripe decoupage paper. So I start out first by painting them all in white. The Rust-Oleum chalk paint is what I'm using, and I give them all a really good coat. Decoupage does apply or show better with a coat of white underneath, and so I get them all coated up. I just do one quick coat. Doesn't need to be a real solid, but this does cover it fairly well. I don't do the inside. I debated on whether I was going to put like real flowers in these, which at some point I probably will when it is warm enough that I can go buy a flat and just put these in my kitchen or just, on a little side table just to brighten up the little room. This is just water, just a little thin brush. I don't want scissor cuts on it, so the water helps me tear it after I measure out everything that I'm putting it on. This little pot, I left the bottom in the clay. And this one actually came from, I think, Target many, many years ago. The ones that I got from Dollar Tree are the only ones that I purchased new for this season. And I'd already put something on it, but I'm just reusing and upcycling, I guess. And I'm using the DIY decoupage medium. It's called Liquid Patina. It works similarly to Mod Podge. And I'm just kind of little by little applying that medium and then laying the paper flat. This is kind of thick. It's almost like a scrapbook paper, but not as thick, but it's definitely thicker than the other decoupage paper and the napkins. So this doesn't wrinkle quite like the others do. This was a pretty easy application. I am tearing the backing off. You don't want to apply decoupage napkins, or you don't want to apply napkins with that backing layer. So I'm doing the same thing, just getting my water just to get that torn to the size that I want. And this does wrinkle a bit. And being that they are round, I can't use like the ironing method or anything along those lines. I decided I wanted this rim to be in yellow. And so I do that with this one and the little one. I end up putting the yellow around. And I don't show each and every pot with each and every step because I do essentially the same thing with all of them. Once they are dry, I do take some sandpaper to trim up the edges and make them, look much more tailored and nice and neat around the edges. But I just wanted the variation of this yellow. I've been kind of like working on some bee themed decor for this spring, and I just thought that would be a fun little touch. So again, I'm just applying the liquid patina and adhering the napkin to it little by little, just going in steps. And as I said, it does wrinkle, so I just kind of had to be okay with that, and I am. These are not meant to be perfect. These are not meant to look printed. They are meant to look a little bit rusty and crusty as usual. So I don't mind the wrinkles. And they do kind of, once it dries, you don't notice them as much. So here is that plastic one, and I decided I wanted to stamp on it. And I pulled out these little stamps are a set that I had ordered from Temu. I've used them in other projects, but they've come really in handy with these spring projects I've been working on. And this pot is so flimsy that it was easy for me to kind of wrap the stamp around it in a way and mold the pot to the stamp so that it applied kind of flat. And it ended up looking really cute. As I said, I mean, this is a throwaway. I mean, there's no way to save this over the years. And they weren't intended to. I just didn't realize what I was buying when I bought it. But it does look really cute. I tidy up the bottom there with just a little bit more white paint where I got the stamp on that bottom rim there. And then the paint does kind of scratch off of this surface fairly easily. So I tidied up the front as well. And if I were going to set this outside or something, I would probably seal it. But again, this isn't going to be for long-term use. This is my little bird one, and I was using this little hand finger sander that also is from Temu, matter of fact, just to tidy up those edges, which I did do on all of them. There's just not a lot of footage of me doing so. Now this one, I couldn't quite figure out. It was a little bit tricky because of the stripes. The stripes kind of went wonky. I probably should have cut it in different pieces and pieced it together, but I was just kind of okay with it looking almost like diagonal stripes. And if you wanted them to be super straight, I would probably cut this up and apply it in multiple pieces. But I didn't think it through or far enough ahead of time to do that. So I ended up with kind of a diagonal stripe as I went. It still looks really cute though, and I end up painting this rim yellow as well to go along with the bee pot that I did, the one with the bee napkin. This is also very thin, similar to the napkins, and does wrinkle a bit. I'm just trimming the excess off because as I rolled it around, it was too big for the pot. So I just get that all down and good so I don't have anything lifting, and I get everything trimmed up and sand this one down like the rest, and we go from there. After I get everything decoupaged and everything is dry, I take this twine and or jute string and I just hot glue it along that rim there. I like how it looks, and it also does help if those edges up there aren't perfectly even or straight. In a couple of spots, this particular pot tore up there. I think it wasn't quite dry enough, and I tried to mess with it. But you can't even tell once I get this jute string twine on there. And I'm just using hot glue for that. And I do that with all of them, including the little plastic one. Just gives a little bit of dimension and a little bit of interest. And I think it looks really cute. I don't do any bows. I just kind of cut it off and meet it at the end. Go a little bit above the rim, a little bit below the rim. And I just call it good. I didn't need any bow or a ribbon necessarily. Now, I didn't have any of that green, those cubes, the styrofoam. And I wanted to finish this, so I just kind of stuffed them with a little, like a grocery sack, basically. And then I filled the pots with that Spanish moss. The Spanish moss also came from the dollar store. And this may end up all just being kind of temporary until I go get myself some cute actual potted flowers that I can put in these. These flowers I've had for a bit. I'm just kind of using scraps. I want to say these ones may have come from Hobby Lobby, but I just kind of play around with them all. As I said, I didn't purchase any flowers particularly for this project, so I'm just kind of using what I have, and they most likely won't be permanent anyway. But that is how I did that one. And each one I did a little bit differently, different style. Those flowers came from the Dollar Tree. These sunflowers, I couldn't even say. I think these are lavenders. These lavenders came from Temu, actually. And I love this one. It's so cute. These tiny little pink ones, I think, are from Hobby Lobby. But this is how they turned out, and I kind of love them. They're so fun and just are going to brighten up every little nook and cranny in my space. And they were a lot of fun to make. Up next is a spring banner. And this is so easy, you guys. I'm using stamps, and these stamps I think are called typesetting. They are from Iron Orchid Designs. I do purchase all of the IOD products that I use from Jamie Ray Vintage. However, if you don't have these stamps, I mean, if you have a Cricut, you could cut some vinyl. If you don't want to do that, you could even use those poster letters from the Dollar Tree. Or you could trace them, print them off of your computer. I mean, so simple. But the stamps are also so simple. And since I have them, that's what I'm going to use. I'm pulling off all the letters that I need to spell out spring. These are book pages. I tore out of, I'm making a book stack. And I bought 3 of the same, I wanted them all to be the same size. So I purchased 3 of the same book. So out of one of them, I tore out a few pages. And I don't have the footage of it, but I did use my paper trimmer to even off the page where I tore it. For some reason that isn't here. I think my battery had died. I am using this other stamp from I think it's called Wreath Builder or something, also by IOD, and my IOD ink pad. And I am just going to, on each page, put one letter. And I'm not measuring. I mean, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And when I go to do the next, I just kind of lay out the next and compare it just to make sure that it's even. This little wreath piece, you could use like rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. You could even, I almost didn't even do it. I almost thought it looked cute, just plain. So this step isn't even necessary. It's just me being extra. And I had seen someone do this, I think for Christmas. I don't know. This is an original idea. It's one I saw at one time, and it's been something I wanted to do, and I actually love it. It turned out so cute, and it was so easy. And that's kind of how I measured. I just laid them out next to each other. I definitely could have got out a ruler and a pencil and made it more precise, but that just isn't what I did. Best thing about this little project is that it was essentially free. Everything I'm using I already had, and it ends up being so beautiful. Now, if you could read the words on these pages, you would laugh. Like the books that I picked, I didn't grab them for reading. I grabbed them for a project, and I never really intended to read them, and I have three of them, but it is like kind of a romance type novel, so it was kind of funny, and I had no idea. I didn't notice it until I was doing this, and I caught some of the words in the paragraphs. I was laughing, and luckily, no one's ever gonna see it, but it has even like some bad language on it. But anyways, you had just an old vintage book or something, I wouldn't recommend ripping pages out of it, but this was one that I felt okay with tearing a few pages out. And if someone ever did want to read it, I have two other copies. So we are all good there. So I'm folding down the edges or the tops to make kind of a lip because I'm going to hang this with some twine and little clips from the Dollar Tree as well. I already had them, but I think that is something they carry all the time. They're the little mini wooden, almost they look like clothes hangers, but they're teeny tiny. So I just get the twine out, and I didn't even use hot glue. I literally just got those little clips and hung the pages from the twine. And I absolutely love how this turned out. It is so cute. And I've already got it hung up and it looks perfect. I had to take down my Easter garlands and banners, so I wanted something to hang up here on our mantle. And I think it is so beautiful. I just love it. And I hope you guys try to make one for yourself. It is, again, so easy and so inexpensive. And we are all looking for those kind of projects. Now, these are the books. Okay, so first I was going to just paint them. So I tried sanding off that title because it was like embossed. So it had a raised element in the printing on the end of the book, the binding. And so, like I said, I started out painting it. I wasn't really feeling it, and I didn't like that it was all I had was white. Like I wanted it to be more of if I had I couldn't find didn't realize I had used up the last of my kind of an off-white color paint that I like to use, so I need to reorder some of that. It's also by Rust-Oleum. But anyways, so I paint this whole thing just in one coat of the white. And after I finished getting it painted, I was thinking I didn't like it. So I kind of just finished this one coat and then I decided to go another route. And I only show you from start to finish with one of the books. I do use three. And with each one, this is the only one that I painted. I didn't paint the other two. So I pulled out some of this drop cloth and I cut pieces that will fit the whole thing. And this drop cloth, I don't recall if this one came from Walmart or Amazon because I've had it for a while. I've bought drop cloth from both. They're very similar, if not the same, and pretty close in pricing too, I would say. So I gave it a quick iron just to get it smoothed out and get those wrinkles out. I'm using a spray adhesive. I didn't want to use, and I do use the hot glue as well around the edges, but I didn't want to use hot glue all over the entire thing. Probably you could use Mod Podge or hot glue. I just didn't want the ridge of the bead of the hot glue to kind of show and lift once it dried. So I'm using this spray adhesive. It actually worked really well. It stuck really tightly. And then I trim these edges up. And then I'm going to kind of wrap the book up. That front cover that is pink, the first little page there, I end up tearing out of each because you could kind of see it even when the book was closed. So I'm just cutting off a lot of the excess, and then I do use the hot glue to put these edges down, wrapping it up like a little present. And just making sure it's tight and secure. I don't want it to sag or anything, of course. And just making it look nice and tidy. But as you can see, I'm not doing anything to the book that if someone were to ever actually want to read this, they still could. And as far as the top goes, I kind of put a couple of little slits there in the middle so that I can bend in or fold in that middle piece and then also hot glue it. So it ends up looking really beautiful, really tidy, and I think it is better than even the paint that I was originally going to go for with that chiffon off-white color. And I have seen people cover books with um, drop cloth before. So also not like an original or completely earth-shattering idea, but I I really enjoyed the look. I'm probably going to make some other sets to go along with the decor or to put in my booth, but yeah, I'm using this little spatula. I did burn the heck out of one of my fingers doing this. So after that, I was like, okay, let's protect our fingers and try not to end up with blisters. So I'm using just the silicone spatulas that I think came in like a set of 3. So I do the same process, repeat all of these steps on all 3 books. And once I have that done, I'm not gluing them together. I'm just kind of tying them temporarily together so I can apply my stamps. I am using the same stamps that I used on the spring, the little wreath. No, I'm not. I lied. This laurel wreath came with the bee in the queen bee stamp. So what I had to do is kind of hold them together, hold these books together tightly. And then after I got it applied the first time, I would remove the books one at a time to kind of get in between almost, because there was this gap that I didn't want. So I just lined the stamp back up where it was supposed to go, inked up the stamp again, and reapplied. And that did the trick so that when they were all together, there weren't a bunch of odd looking gaps. And this looks really, really beautiful on burlap. Sorry, not burlap, on the drop cloth. So I do both sides. This set of stamps comes with both sides of the wreath. So I do the same thing for the other side of the little bee, making sure to clean my stamps after each use. That way they stay good for many, many uses. This has been one of my new favorite stamp sets that I have purchased. This also came from IOD and from the Jamie Ray Vintage shop. And again, I just do the same thing. Each book, I reapply each little part of that wreath to make sure everything looks good and clear. These stamps have so much detail that you just don't want to miss it. They are just beautiful, and with the drop cloth, they show up very, very vividly, even with the dark ink. So once I have that done, I'm not using that twine. I just used it to kind of hold the books together. Whether or not it helped, I don't know. But get those stamps cleaned up, put away, and then I'm going to finish this off with some ribbon. I found this buffalo check ribbon. I just had it in my stash, but it was a little thick, so I cut it down almost like in half, and I wrapped the books around, and then I tied a little bow. And then I thought it might be cute to add a little bit of color, so I pulled out these yellow little sprigs. These came from the Dollar Tree. I kind of debated whether I wanted to just use some greenery on this or if I wanted to go with this yellow color. I may end up swapping it out for just plain greenery at some point. But going with the bee theme, I thought this looked really, really beautiful. I absolutely love this. It was a lot of fun to make, and I'm going to definitely make more.
Thanks for watching Molly Cool Creations. Click on the like button and don't forget to subscribe and press the bell. Bye. I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to watch every single video we make.
Y'all, thanks so much for joining me. Once again, thanks for clicking on this video. Let me know what you think and which project was your favorite. Stay safe, friends.